Hi, I'm Steve Bittinger. My old friend Logan McNatt asked me to tell you a few stories about my experiences during the first descent of El Sotano del Barro. I was only 19 back then in 1972, so only a very young man. I was in University of Texas at the time as a student, and there were several other people who also were students. We were trying to minimize the amount of time that we were away from class. So we left, late one day, Thursday or Friday, and drove straight through to Ayutla. It was a long journey. We took turns driving, and it was my turn to drive as we were going south of Ciudad Valles. I remember it was the middle of the night, maybe 2 a.m. in the morning. We were tired, and it turned out there was a one-lane bridge, and a bus was coming the other way as I was driving going south. And I only realized at the last possible moment that we weren't both going to be able to pass on this bridge. So I came to a screeching halt and sort of veered off to the right-hand side of the road and came to a stop. The car was just on the edge of, or actually it was a truck, was just on the edge of going into the gully. And the bus passed me, and then it also stopped. It thought that surely we must have scratched as we passed because we were so close together. And we got out and we had our flashlights, and we looked, but we didn't see any scratches. So the bus went on and we carried on. The old truck that we were driving belonged to Tom, and it had the shock absorbers were shot. So as we drive down these bumpy roads, it was bang, 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 bang as the body of the truck would hit the chassis. A very uncomfortable ride. Another story has to do with our descent into the pit. Craig and Logan were the first people down, and my friend and later wife Donna Atkins and I, our turn came just about dusk, and so we were rappelling into the pit at dusk, and by the time we got to the bottom it was dark. And so we decided rather than stay on the bottom, we would climb out at night with our headlamps. We had probably carbide lights in those days, and the rope that I was on had two knots in it, one at 600 feet down and another one at 1,200 feet down. So I had to climb up over two knots. The two ropes were side by side, so Donna and I were climbing up side by side, and as we got close to the top, we could look over the lower edge of the pit and see in the moonlight the valley below and the hill on the other side where a little village of El Limon was. And the next morning, we took off early. The rest of the people in our group stayed behind. Several more people wanted to descend and finish mapping. But we took off heading back to the car because we had to get back to classes at the University of Texas at Austin. And so we decided to take this supposed shortcut that goes through the canyon. It turns out that, in hindsight, I think Terry Raines had contributed some water bottles from his printing practice, and he maybe hadn't washed them out sufficiently, or maybe they couldn't be washed out. They had previously had chemicals in them for developing printing plates, and they had been filled with water then, and I ended up drinking some of that water, which made me feel nauseous. So this long hike, which took many hours to get through the canyon and climbing over boulders and up and down, it was quite difficult. The whole time I was just feeling wretched. It just awful. It was the worst part of the trip for me. Finally, we made it to the little aqueduct at the far end, close to Ayutla, and we could get to the car, and we were so tired that we didn't drive back all night. The way we had driven down there, we stopped for the night somewhere along the road and slept a little bit and then carried on the next day.